Hey Neppers, it's me, Wild Neptune. I'm on a free-to-play account that's been here for a few months now, and I want to share some of the roadblocks I've experienced right where we're getting into the meat of the game. Let's go. Alright, so here is the current roster. This account is a little less than 20 weeks old, fully free to play, again, and I would say that relatively so. I think I've gotten pretty lucky on this account, so probably a little bit above the curve there. Obviously, starting when Heavy Red Hood and Somewhat Heavy Arms was running for banners helped a lot, and then getting 3.5 anniversary characters like Anise and Neo Neon also helped too. Also, getting Crown is also a very nice thing, but also, getting Siren, SBS, who I actually got in my reroll process. Lib is really good too. We have Grave also and Mahara down here. So a pretty nice roster of programs and some decent role players too. Like we have Rouge, Bunny Milk, which has actually helped. Bunny Milk has been a savior for this account, and I'll get to that in a little bit here. We actually have enough for like dupes with like Treasure Miranda, Treasure Tuve, Treasure Laplace, who I'm currently working on. This whole first row and Vesti down here is fully overloaded, and I'm currently working on Laplace. Some of these other units here have some overload gear, but that was just to get them powered up for certain things. But right now, I'm kind of focusing in on a couple of areas of the game, and we'll get to why I'm focusing on Laplace in one of those sections. So this is to show what we're working with here. There are some units I don't currently have yet. Nyuda is one that I would like to try to pick up. Another really big one you might notice I do not have is Moran. You also notice I mint. I did a couple of 10 pulls and I managed to get lucky with getting her. So I don't know if I'll pull Precure on this account. But yeah, but Moran is one of the big ones I do not have yet. So hopefully she comes home to this account because I would kind of like to have her. But let's get to some of the nitty gritty in this video. So the first place I want to go to is going to be Tower, and this is one of the places where I think you might start to get walled a little bit around this time, depending on your account and where you are, obviously. Now, some players will take maybe Program Tower, which is closed right now. I don't have the programs, I can't progress in it. But actually, I think we have like a couple of good programs. You can get like relatively little bit in, and hopefully, anniversary or get lucky, pull another one, and keep building up from there. I think early on, like, when my main account started, it was a lot harder overall because I remember not having a program for a very long time and just kind of being stuck and not being able to do this. But on this account, which started with 2 programs, or an open spec also, I haven't missed a day. And in fact, I have not missed a day on any of these towers, which has been very, very nice. Obviously, I think Elysion for a lot of players now will be the easiest one at the program because a lot of the really strong characters are in Elysion for PvE, which is funny because Elysion used to be the hardest tower and now it's the easiest one. Missilus is okay. Some people will struggle. The only problem with Missilus is that a lot of the characters in it are not particularly like great or very good, or if they are good characters, they're not great for a tower in particular, so kind of weird. Tetra Tower has more meta units, but I think this is going to be the one that a lot of players are going to start to struggle on, just because a lot of new players just don't raise these units in Tetra Tower, and they're kind of annoying to use, right? So, if it wasn't for Renice Star, my Tetra Tower would be dead. So, this is the last stage I cleared. I cleared it today, and I'll be honest, this was relatively easy. A few before, Stormbringer took me quite a while to do actually. Pretty difficult. The only characters here that have overload gear is Alice and Anise Star. On this stage right here, you see my power like 217 and a little bit here. It won't show because on the low clear info, it doesn't show like your clear for some reason, but if I go on my main account, it does show my alt here, and my alt does have the lowest clear and has the lowest clear for a few of the levels around here actually in Tetra Tower. And like I said, with Anise, you can probably get like a lot lower. I don't know how much lower. You could probably reach like 200k and still clear it. Honestly, maybe not Stormbringer. That's kind of a hard ask, but yeah, you can definitely go lower here. I say this though because maybe around this time start looking at your roster and being like, hey, I'm getting really, really close to not being able to clear some of these tower stages. Maybe I want to level up some characters for a tower. Like I said, I think for a lot of players it will be Tetra because you don't really base a lot of Tetra characters, and if you don't have any star, well, good luck to you, right? Maybe you have Moran, Treasured, or Rouge. Those are okay too, but you will probably need more of a boost here. Like also because if you have Rouge, you don't need the Noor, which is kind of nice. But one of the key things here for me was to use Blanc and Noor because that did boost my survivability quite a bit. Because before I was just getting shredded by some of the enemies and not being able to survive long enough to do my rotations. I think Alice is a pretty strong character too in Tower, and learning how to at least semi manual her overall is gonna really benefit you. If you could do that also, even if you don't manual milk at all, during this, she's actually a pretty good clearer for Tower also. And in some places you don't have anything else, right? Look at this. These are my options for my burst 3 in Tetra Tower. This is it, okay? And that may be in other Roadblock too. This aren't a lot of Tetra units that we have been here, obviously too. But yeah, so just keep in mind that sometimes you might have to make some diversions to some of the things. Maybe Missilus is going to be a tower you need to work on, right? So let's look at some of the Missilus characters really quickly here, and see what he had. Obviously, if Neon, you have her. Iron's pretty good. Laplace you can use too, and in some stages Laplace you will have to use. I would say Laplace for a few levels in Tower is a key unit to have, so do not sleep on her either. And like I said, Elysion, the strongest units for PvE are in Elysion, so you don't really not much help there. Anyway, let's go on to the next thing that might be a roadblock or something you might want to work on around this time for your account. The next roadblock is going to be Arena, and I know a lot of players say they don't really want to engage in Arena, really focus on it. And you know what? Like I said in the previous video, you 100% should, because Arena is the largest sum of gems you can get for doing one piece of content in the entire game. Yes, it might not be flashy, it might be annoying overall, but the ease of getting the awards is so much easier than building entire rosters of solo raid just to, maybe crack out a little bit more damage for couple hundred more gems. Obviously, things like solo raid are important for getting things like the doll kits and the dolls themselves and batteries, but you only have to go through the first 7 stages of the solo raid and then do the challenge mode just to get a little bit of bonus reward, stuff like that. Let's be honest here, solo raid for endgame players is about the frames more than the gems themselves. PvP, it's all gems, and the threshold that you should be aiming for most players, I would say, is top 30. Why top 30? Well, because top 30 gets you 2,000 gems every 2 weeks, which I think is a pretty nice sum. Obviously, even top 60, 1,600 every 2 weeks, just with barely doing anything, not a bad sum, right? These add up, and if you want to pull more characters, get more units, have a nice, stash saved away for anniversary or reruns or collabs, this is something that you will want to do. and you will want to engage in at least a little bit. So like just a tiny bit of effort, will help you go quite a long way. Now, obviously, if you're free to play, you are not going to get into like CA and Challenger, right? Unless you have a very, very forgiving bracket overall. Like I would say my main accounts bracket is a little bit on the easier side, I would say. But even then, my main account does struggle to maintain top 4, and my main account does spend money. Like not a whale, but it does spend money. This one, I'm under no delusion that I think I can get into like top 4 anytime soon. But do I think I can? With some pushing, I can maintain like top 10 challenger? Yes, I do actually. Right? Now. I do have to raise some more units for PvP and get some better PvP units, but yes, I do think it is possible with this account, for at least for a little bit, to maintain top 10 in my bracket as a free-to-play. But yeah, just so start my goal, and I think a lot of people's goals around this time for their account should be to start maybe raising some PvP units up, right? So obviously in the Star Trillium PvP, Jackal, Blanc, really good, somewhat heavy arm, strong unit too. Yeah, Vessi, another strong unit overall also. And this won't happen overnight, obviously. This will be a very long process, like months, to raise these characters up. But I do think that the rewards will be worth it. You might think to yourself, well, months, isn't that a very long time? Yes, it is. But it will also take you months to raise other characters for like other content like solo raid and stuff like that for relatively like much worse rewards, which is why I heavily encourage players who really want to maximize their gem income to at least try to get some of your PvP down pat before you do some other content. Now, unfortunately for me, like you saw from my roster, I do not have some, I would say, key PvP units on my squad. So, let's go to not owned. So, I'm currently missing things like Senti, who is a very strong burst 2 in PvP. I'm actually missing almost every very strong burst 2 in PvP there is, besides Blanc. Right, so I'm missing Senti, I'm missing Noah, I'm missing Biscuit. So not that great. I'm also missing some strong burst 3s, like I'm missing Scarlet. Actually, wait, I actually might have Biscuit. Do I? No, I don't. Okay, yeah. So I'm missing Biscuit. I'm missing for burst 3s. I'm missing Scarlet. I'm missing definitely some other characters I would like to have. Burst 1s, obviously, I don't have Moran, I don't have Noise. I did get Rapunzel recently, which has been, a kind of a nice surprise overall, I would say. So, yeah, some units that I think people are not that excited about overall. Like, oh man, I get a PvP unit, not that exciting. You should be excited about those, because that means that if you're a newer player and you are willing to, put the investment in, that means more gems for you. Now, obviously, I know that PvP, for a lot of players, myself included, right, isn't the funnest thing in the world. I must rather, try to do story content or push things like, tower and mechanically try to clear stages like solo and stuff like that. But that will come in time, right? Unfortunately, Nikke is a game that has not really done a lot to fast track players, through the game, like the story mode and stuff like that through the story. But as far as actual mechanical gameplay goes, ShiftUp has avoided really making it like that much easier for players to do content or to raise characters at least. It has gotten better over time, but I would say that the game is still progress-wise relatively slow paced. Now then, the thing is though, is that honestly, once you have your set characters for story mode, you don't really have to level that many. Like right now, I'm at Crystal Armor, which will require me to use like Neon, Iron. So you'll probably have like 10 or so ish characters you want to have for story mode at your disposal. Like this is like the best, I would say, mid to low deficit clearing team for story mode right now. And then you can mix and match things like Neon if you need it, like things like SBS for volleyballs, Vesty if you need some more true damage with more deficit. Lib is also strong overall in story, and maybe a couple other like niche units. Like if I had Nayuta, maybe bring her in also. In some stages, maybe a little more damage, so maybe Privity over Helm or main mass to over Helm also. Ein, if you need to try to clear things like River Container, or even this stage here, which has proved to be quite a roadblock. Like around this time here, a lot of players will get stuck for a little bit, so don't feel bad about that. I myself am stuck here, and mechanically, I don't really want to deal with the mechanics of the boss that much, so I'm kind of being lazy here, just kind of waiting until I can overpower it. But we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, that's really going to be the gist of the video. Just telling you guys that maybe new players here who are steadily, going through the account and they're feeling good about it. Yes, there are going to be roadblocks along the way. And obviously a lot of players, they know that yes, there will be story roadblocks, but other things too. Like you're looking at tower. Maybe, again, look at your tower, units. And if you're starting to fall behind and you notice that tower is getting more difficult for you in certain places, look at your teams and seeing if they match up to the other teams people they're using. We don't have, the best units, maybe bring it back a bit, maybe don't overload them, stuff like that. But if they're good units, maybe try to use them. Make sure that your power is at least comparable to like the lowest clears for those stages overall, just to be sure that you can, actually do it without bashing yourself, on your keyboard over and over again. Maybe you have to learn some more mechanical skills, like with Alice, right? Maybe you have to be a little bit better at aiming and, pushing your button, like at the right times. And another roadblock will be PvP, right? Again, you might need to really try to focus on getting some better PvP units or building some PvP units just in order to get to that gem threshold, again, top 30, which is, I think, is a reasonable goal for a lot of players who really, really want to push PvP, just to get them. Again, even top 60 with 1,600 gems every 2 weeks, right? That's a big gem boost for a lot of players who just don't do PvP at all. So remember, something is better than nothing, and again, the opportunity cost for PvP is a lot lower than the cost to do like any other content in the game for that much rewards. So anyway, I'm Neptune. It's been a good one. Till next time.